day 17 of Natural Beauty Summit's Detox Your Beauty Regimen series. I'm Salome Salehi, founder and president at Sugar Sugar Wax, and today you're in for a breath of fresh air. Our guest expert, Jody Scott, started her company with her sister and her mom, making all-natural, homemade healing creams and balms on a farm. And today their brand, known as Green Goo, can be found in major retailers across America and even as far as some clinics in Africa. You've probably seen Green Goo products at Walgreens or Target. Heck, I've even seen them at a tiny Rite Aid store near Lake Tahoe. Their operation is a profoundly rare example of good business, where their products are good, clean, and effective. Their environmental impact is minimal, and the impact that they have on their community, down to the way they treat their employees like family, is just unheard of. And they're always, be it here in the US or abroad, doing something to help those in need. In this conversation, Jody and I talk about why naturally sourced ingredients are so effective. She even shares the secret to the efficacy of their products, which is a process that they use to extract medicinal properties from plants. So stay tuned for Jody Scott. Hi guys, I'm here with Jody Scott, one of the founders at Green Goo, and her story is really interesting, and I want to focus on how the business is set up first, because Jody, I think you started the business with your sister and your mom, and you guys are such a rare example of full circle production. So I really want to know, how has that full circle effect affected your values, or how's the business affected your personal life and values, and how has your personal life and values affected the business, vice versa? Because it's not really something that we see every day.
No, that's a loaded question. It's so visceral for us. Like, I think our business is a symbiotic relationship of like who we all are, and such an extension of who we are. My sister's a certified herbalist and a midwife, and then I was pre-med, and used to train resident physicians in terms of the biopsychosocial model and just sort of mind body medicine. And when we started this with friends and family, we just had really been inspired by our farming and gardening practices and making medicine from plants. And my daughter was young at the time, and being able to harvest calendula and then put it on the dessert, and show her what plants were edible and educate her what the medicinal properties. She used to run around the garden picking out plantain and being like, "Mommy, it's nature's Band-Aid," which is in our first aid product. And so having sort of that full circle experience ourselves, my mom, my sister, and I, so being certified women owned, also being a B Corp, and passionate about how we build our business and being socially responsible with our employees and sustainable business practices and sustainable materials, along with how that affects your body, and putting this body care on you on a daily basis and going, not only do I want something natural, but how does it affect the rest of the world? And can I bring in medicinal components in terms of our daily body care practices? And so a lot of our formulations are as a result of that. So we have a family farm, and when we first started, this was like build it in your backyard kind of thing. And in light of COVID, it kind of brought us all back together again, where we are all back on the farm, which my sister and I, we've always lived here together, but my parents and everyone back at the farm, and we're packing boxes and working together very much like when we first started, and growing a lot of the herbs. Still, they're not in our products anymore, but they're the same herbs that we were growing when we first started and putting in the products. So it's been a wild ride, and it's definitely, in light of the current events, probably more full circle than it ever has been.
Well, what I find so charming is that you're not like a tiny operation anymore. Your business has grown tremendously. You're in Walgreens, CVS,
Mhm.
Target, like, and the list goes on and on. But you've still held on to those values. And I think that's really, I don't know. I feel like it's rare. It's rare. And we're going back to that. I
So
think
you kind of gave me goosebumps as you said it. Just hearing you say it was really neat to hear that out loud. We've worked really hard to maintain that. It's not just integrity for us, but it's passion in who we are. I mean, it was me, myself, and I as a salesperson, and I'm like, I can't sell something I don't believe in. And we really built this company with people and investors. Even we took our first investment during COVID, like, and that was its own biggest challenge in itself. But partnering with people who didn't want to change us, but more identified that those were beautiful assets, and how can we do more and honor that. And that's been a really, really special part of the journey. Just the alignment that we have with our employees and the people we work with has only helped embellish it. When I first brought in my first PR person, and I sat down and told him all the philanthropic efforts we were working on. And he was like, how am I going to organize this? He's like, typically people just pick one organization to donate to. I'm like, oh, I cannot just pick one. Like, how do we make it work so that we can help more people in different ways? And somehow he made sense of our chaos, and has really honored it and found a way to embellish it. So like when we had the sanitizer really shoot through the roof in March, April, he did a beautiful job of making sure that we were donating to various organizations. And I mean, we've probably donated in the last 60 days to 30 plus organizations, whether we donated financially or with sanitizer itself. And he really pioneered that, knowing that that was an important part of our business for my family and I. So
that's incredible. And like the way you guys have been doing things, I mean, I there's the model, but I don't want to get away from the product, because another unique facet of Green Goo is that your products are like really, really therapeutic. And I think that
mhm,
there's a spectrum of like natural or like clean, natural, and then it goes towards like herbally medicinal. And you guys are definitely on this side of it. And like, in fact, one of your, speaking of your philanthropic um, endeavors, you guys made some donations that one of yourselves was actually being used to treat wounds in Africa.
mhm.
So the efficacy of your products, I think, we can rest on the assumption that your stuff really, really works. I mean, it's being treated
Yeah.
for.
That's I think one of my favorite things about these products is I love to exceed expectation. And so many of our new customers did not come to us because they were interested in natural products. They came to us because they needed a solution. And every solution that they had encountered wasn't working, whether it was poison ivy or eczema or chronic pain or what have you. I mean, the list goes on, and it's or cold sore medicine. And so it's been really fun to tackle just the first aid category in itself and saying, hey, we've been trained that these particular products are the only things that work. And so, especially in first aid, like people, even if you're just a naturalist committed individual, if you have a cut or you have poison ivy, you're not going to make a compromise for natural if it's not going to work. performance needs to matter.
Absolutely.
This is the space where we've been able to prove that you can not only be natural, you can work better. John Hopkins uses our dry skin formula and their scleroderma and skin condition department. And, the results that they're seeing are incredible with people who have chronic dry skin and getting that relief. And so it's really lovely. And there's a lot of elements to why they work. It's not just the plants that we select, it's the oils that we use, it's the process by which we process. So we do this lipid infusion process.
What I was just going to ask you.
Yeah. Which is really, it's not unique, and then it is unique. It is a time honored tradition. It is like the oldest medicine practice that there is. It's just never been able to be scaled. And so, not economically and not feasibly. And so in the last 10 years, we worked really hard on that manufacturing process to be able to find a way to scale this process without compromising the efficacy in a truly sustainable way. So limiting the least amount of waste as possible from these plants. And then bring these products to market so that people can have something that actually performs. And that in itself has been its own journey. I mean, we got turned down from manufacturer after manufacturer because nobody wanted to take the time to build that model. And it really truly took a manufacturer whose son, who had eczema, used our product, and he said, "We got to figure out a way to make this happen."
That's incredible. And just so that the audience understands, so the efficacy of your products can be part of it is attributed to this lipid infusion process.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about what that means just in layman's terms for those who aren't familiar?
So super simple. Basically, there's a lot of way to extract the medicinal properties from plants. You see it with ethanol extractions and butane extractions, or synthetic, copycats, if you will. The lipid infusion process is an oil, so fat being oil, pulling the medicinal properties out from the plant. We're partial to this process because it doesn't limit your what you're absorbing, and it allows what we call sort of the entourage effect, and it brings in all of the plant properties slowly, so it also doesn't kill or destroy some of the other plant properties or cannabinoids or what have you that this plant has to offer. And so it's really, we call it it's a symphony of medicinal components that this plant has to offer. That's really quite lovely. And then with that, so every single one of our products has a very specific blend of herbs that we've selected, my sister being also the herbalist, that has medicinal properties specific to the symptom relief that we're looking for. And so we're not getting these blends from anywhere else. We're making these blends, and then we then put it in what we call the salve or oils or what have you to be able to use.
Now, when you say time-honored tradition and you say it's a slow process, I don't think the average person appreciates what you mean. Like, we're not talking about like slow in a lab, like it's minutes or hours. When you guys first started doing this on the farm, what would that time frame look like?
So before we had science, as an equation in developing these products, we were following the original way you extracted plants or the medicine from the plant. So we would actually use the sun, and we would have a full 30 days of the sun heating the oil and pulling the medicinal properties out of the plant. And ironically, and we briefly talked about this, we started a nonprofit effort in Afghanistan to help with remote. Basically, the short-term story is we want to bring economic development to remote locations. And it's difficult when you don't have sort of the typical economic exchange of dollars and being sensitive to cultures. And so we created these pilot gardens, if you will, and teaching the locals how to grow plants, extract from the plants, and then make medicine to sell at the market. And they're actually doing the same process from when we very first started, before it got put into a lab and before it got put into, an engineering process to be able to do this in a large capacity.
Yeah, I mean, talk about teaching people how to fish. I love that. Let's talk about synthetic versus natural oils, particularly when it comes to absorption. 'Cause, I mean, I've had some really great experiences with oils that I've been using on my skin, face, body, everything. But not all oils are created equal. So I want to, if you can share some of your expertise and awareness around how natural and synthetic oils behave on the skin.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we are partial to plant-based oils. The simple piece of it is our skin is made of cells that have a semi-permeable membrane, and that membrane brings in water and moisture and whatever nutrients that it works in terms of finding balance. Uh, Synthetic oils, so things like paraben, mineral oils, petroleum, the argument can be made that our body does not absorb those properties and sits on the surface of your skin. So, from a medicinal standpoint, so that being said, we want to bring in those medicinal properties from the oils that we have created. So, we want oils that our body is going to absorb so that we can bring in, they're the carrier for those medicinal properties. So, the plant based oils have proven to be a good carrier of those medicinal properties. And then the argument also, just from a hydration standpoint, oftentimes when you have synthetic oils sitting on the surface of your skin, it actually pulls the water out of your cells. And what we're trying to do is hydrate the cells. So what you'll find, especially our repair product, the Green Goo Repair, is just amazing in terms of what it does to your skin. But it's so fantastic because it's so hydrating. You'll find that over time you don't have to use it as much. A lot of like synthetic beauty care, for 2 days you'll be like, oh, I'm getting results in 48 hours, right? You see commercials about that. Oftentimes it's because you're getting some good hydration for a day or two because it's holding it all in, and then it pulls it all out, and then all of a sudden 2 days later your skin just looks rough, it looks sad. And so when you're using plant-based oils and you're bringing in that hydration, you get continued like happy plump cells, which is what you want.
And I think that's definitely been a theme in this series is, when you're trying to address skin issues, you're not going to see results overnight. And if you are, you're probably doing something really just like drastic to your skin, which is making your skin really unhappy, especially in the long term. So I want to talk about your favorite plant. What's your favorite plant and why?
Well, I think for green goose specifically, we use the calendula flower. That is the plant that we use across the board in all of our products. It is antifungal, anti-yeast, antimicrobial. It's incredibly sustainable and it's beautiful. It's a little gold marigold. The more you harvest it, the more it grows. It's super sustainable. And just across the board, I think babies can have calendula in their body care all the way up to, dogs, and your pets. So it's an incredibly versatile and I think underappreciated plant. And when it's extracted properly, it can give you incredible benefits. But I could go on and on, each product. So when you see the Green Goo product, we have 3 emojis. Matter of fact, I may be able to even show you here. I had a baby meeting with one of the retailers. I don't know if you can see this because of the way the camera imposes it, but you have an herb. So we picked like our favorite, 4 herbs that are in each product. And then created little emojis for it so that the customer can appreciate the unique nature of the product, but then also, what herbs are in it and get educated on it. And so there's a lot of fun stuff. Like this one has calendula, chamomile, yarrow, and comfrey. So you get to know what plants can offer you as well. And then we detail it out on the back so you can
I love it.
magic they're doing.
On the note of calendula, I'm going to ask you a totally selfish question. This is just for
Go
me.
for it.
Because I was actually looking at calendula in our detox dust body powder. I was considering it, and it was a major toss-up between that and chamomile. And we ended up opting to include chamomile instead of calendula. And
Mhm.
I would love to hear, I mean, it's after the fact now, but what are some of the like key, I guess, pros or cons?
So, well, here, this will kind of tell you a little bit. Um, so all chamomile and calendula, are skin protectants. So they both have those properties that they'll be able to offer. Um, Chamomile is gentler. And I would say that calendula just offers an additional layer. Like if you're looking for antifungal, anti-yeast, antimicrobial properties in that sense. Chamomile is just a lovely plant. It can be used, for a lot of different things. And you're using it for a detox,
It's a body powder.
a body powder. Um, I would say they could live together very well in that formula.
Okay, maybe we'll talk for version 2.
There you go. They can complement each other quite well.
Okay, so I think the last question I want to talk to you about, because I think you already do this in your life every single day, and I think we as consumers really lose sight of this. And we're getting so used to marketers telling us exactly how a product needs to be used. Now, I'm not knocking any brands here, but I saw a boob mask on Instagram. Yeah, a boob mask for like the under boob area because it needs to be a mask. And I'm not going to name it, but it was interesting. But then when I looked at the ingredients, they were like the same ingredients that are in one of my face masks.
Mhm.
So I guess one thing that you guys practice day to day is taking one thing and using it in a multitude of ways. And our culture is moving really, really far away from that, where we're like, okay, I need this for this, but I can't use it anywhere else. But the reality is you can't. So, and now in like COVID time and people just being a little bit more mindful about everything that they have and do and their practice and soap. Let's talk about Castile soap because it's one of those things that doesn't really get a lot of like marketing around you need to do this with it because it's so versatile and there's so many different uses for it. So can you talk about like cultivating that mindset of, you have this, let's like spread it out, let's use it multifunctional, but also let's just talk about soap, like
Right. So
Castile soap.
yeah, twofold. So for us, all of our entire product line is meant to simplify your lives, have more than one function, and really clean out your cabinet. Have your body care be portable and versatile, which you to affirm what you're saying, it goes incredibly against how we've been taught, along with even our retail footprint. Retailers going, okay, well, this can fit in 3 different places. So which place should it fit? And having to go through that process with them because it doesn't fit, again, the mold, if you will. Castile was just exactly the right soap to bring in for a multitude of reasons, and that being one of them. Castile is a lovely process and it doesn't have the drying agents that you typically have in soap, which especially right now is wonderful. And it's a lipid soap. It's an oil-based soap. So, it just fits with green goo as well, because we can also make that a carrier for plant properties. And truly, there's just more and more evidence that a lipid soap is actually a better defense mechanism for us in washing hands than an antibacterial soap. There's a lot of arguments on these antibacterial soaps might not be the best thing for us. And And the Castile is sort of a natural way of breaking down those lipid layers, those lipid membranes, which we oftentimes see in viruses and things like that. Castile is super cool because you can not only use it to wash your hands and wash your body, you can use it to wash your dishes, you can wash your laundry, you can wash your dog. It is like the best soap for a dog you could possibly imagine, because like so many soaps, they like don't sud up enough, or they sud up too much. And then they dry their scalps out, and their skin. And so it gets you just the right amount of lather, but then, they don't get the dry skin afterwards. Like right now for washing our hands so much, it's lovely because your foaming hand soap pump, you fill it halfway with the Castile, halfway with the water, and you've got your foaming hand soap. And I didn't have to throw away a container, and I can just, fill it right up. And we have a variety of scents, which is fun. And then of course unscented too. But I love the Castile soap. And I think it's incredibly underappreciated.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Any final words you want to leave our audience with as they're thinking about simplifying and detoxifying their beauty regimens?
Ooh,
Where do I begin?
right. Where I think more than anything, just to feel empowered that, your purchases obviously make a difference in this world, and just kind of think about what that looks like for you in terms of making a difference in your own home and in the world, and from a humanitarian perspective, but even just like our mission, truly our mission is spread goodness. Hashtag spread goodness all the way. And you can do it in lots of little ways in your life. So don't feel like you have to make big decisions on it. Baby steps.
That's a really great point. That's something we haven't talked about a lot in this series, which is, I know we've talked a lot about people, consumers, empowering themselves with knowledge, information, and the know-how. But we haven't really talked about, you guys are voting with your dollars, every item that you purchase. And you have a right. So demand what you want and what you need. And that's it. You're in control of your beauty and your health.
You are. You have you have the power to change the world just through a simple transaction. It's pretty incredible.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, Heather. You're so
Having me.
lovely. And
Gotcha.
we'll include all of Heather's links and Green Goo. If anyone's run out of sanitizer, it's a great place to go. And I don't want to plug their sanitizer, but I didn't know that hand sanitizer could actually have skin benefits. So I am going to plug it because I think that's really cool. Okay, guys, thanks for joining us. Until next time.